Is it just me, or is the whole debate on the savior or leader of country music just dried out? These days, I keep seeing articles and posts saying Luke Combs is the leader of country music, or Morgan Wallen is the savior of country music. The same applies for artists like Parker McCollum or John Party, all putting out country-esque records that are in reality just decent alternatives to what radio executives provide. Like, seriously, can we just stop? Why do we need to prop up one person and hold them to such an incredible high standard and declare them what the genre absolutely needs? Y'all can have your own opinion on the matter, but personally, I'm just sick of seeing people talking about how the genre is in so much danger and how we have to idolize or vilify every artist. How we just drop them into a two-bucket system like political parties. Either you're a savior or a hero to the genre if you have a decent amount of country instrumentation or some twang in your voice, or you're a villain or a sellout just because you make something that doesn't sound like your good old 90s country sound of Alan Jackson, Garth Brooks, and George Strait. Sturgill Simpson was being propped up as country music's next big savior. In response to these remarks, Sturgill made A Sailor's Guide to Earth and Sound and Fury, albums that don't even sound like traditional country whatsoever, because Sturgill firmly believes country doesn't need a savior, and he himself doesn't want to be that for the genre. The whole savior discussion is about as old as the genre itself. Back in the 50s and 60s, Willie Nelson and Johnny Cash were held up as saviors. In the 80s, it was George Strait being considered a savior. In the 90s, it was Alan Jackson, Garth Brooks, Brooks and Dunn, Pretty Woman. The whole savior conversation just really picked up traction in the bro era with songs like Country Music Jesus by Eric Church, talking about this rugged artist who will supposedly save the genre from the evil lord Joey Moy. And supposedly, country got its Country Music Jesus with Chris Stapleton in 2015 with his debut album Traveler. And yes, the record is quite fantastic, 10 out of 10, you already know this, but tell me, how is Chris a savior to the genre? Was it because of the fact that bro country was very alive, flooding our music consumption 24/7? Maybe, but tell me this, who was the villain Chris Stapleton was supposedly fighting? Was it Florida Georgia Line, Luke Bryan, Jason Aldean? What if it was none of them? What if in actuality, the real villain was Nashville? Cody Johnson gave a really good insight in what is made and promoted in Nashville. Everyone loves to hate on Dan and Shay, Thomas Rhett, and for me personally, Brett Young, but really think about it. Do you honestly think they have total creative freedom in their music? Of course you don't. The real villain everyone should be pointing to is the institution of Nashville, radio executives, producers. They are the reason for the gender gap and the racial gap within country, why there are little to any prominent women in the mainstream sphere of country, and why minorities have major difficulties entering the genre. Hailey Withers has a fantastic song on this subject called Tenured Town, all about how she's been at this career for 12 years in Nashville and it normally takes 10 years to take off in the big city. So you see, it's not the pretty boys making the genre the way it is, it's the people pulling the strings. They decide what you do and don't listen to in terms of radio. And remember that key phrase, in terms of radio. In case I need to remind you of what age we currently live in, this is the digital age. I understand during the 80s up to the early 2000s on how country music was primarily accessed via two ways, radio and whatever type of music player people used during the era via CDs, cassettes, whatever. Either you had to swallow down what the radio companies fed you, or you had to make your own mixtapes or discs by hand, which was very difficult. Neither seem very ideal in public consumption, but we live in an era where so much music is at your fingertips. With the rise of the iPod and Spotify, which, fun fact, was created in 2006, you have the capability to rely on your own playlist. You get to choose what to listen to, rather than hear the same sappy love song 7 times a day on the radio. Indie and low-profile artists have never been given this big of a platform before, because the executives can't filter out these great artists and albums from you. The streaming age has allowed for artists like Tyler Childers, Cody Jinks, and Sturgill to chart high. Feathered Indians by Tyler Childers has well over 100 million streams on Spotify. Sturgill Simpson's A Sailor's Guide to Earth won Country Album of the Year at the Grammys and was up for Album of the Year, the highest honor a musician can receive. Zach Bryan, one of the largest and up-and-coming stars, has amassed a large following based on streaming alone with very little to no radio push. So if you were still on your sofa tweeting about how country music is dead and how the genre needs a savior desperately because you were still catering to a system designed to benefit muscular white men, that's on you. The mainstream world of Nashville is a broken institution that is never going to change. It will always uphold quantity and money 100% of the time. Women have and will always continue to struggle in the industry because it's not what your executives want. They want your pretty white dude in a tight t-shirt and jeans singing along to cheap adjectives or referencing other country songs. If you want to find more women and minorities in country music, the indie sphere is so much closer and more accessible than ever. So you know what? You want to know who's really going to save country music? It isn't Chris Stapleton, or Luke Combs, John Party, Morgan Wallen, or even Eric Church. All these people are just artists trying to make quality music. They aren't trying to save anything. The real savior of country music is you the listener. You get to decide to say no to the establishment of Nashville and look for the rawest and deepest country music now. You don't have to put up with your radio beefcakes like Brett Young or Kane Brown anymore. Real country is out there waiting for you. I haven't touched country radio for well over a year and a half, and it's been great that I didn't have to ram a car into the ditch the second Modern Keith Urban came on. All because I decided to look, because I wanted to find the best country music out there. And believe me, I have found it. And in the spirit of good faith, here is a list of country albums in the lower sphere that I find quite fantastic. So do it. Go get a Spotify account, or an Apple Music account, or whatever it is you want, and start finding real country, because it's not you in need of some random artist saving you. It's the artists in need of being saved by you.